Now we want to answer the question, what is a digital identity? Why do we need digital identities? And the answer is very simple. The reason is there is a huge and rapidly increasing number of online services. And before we can use such an online service, we have to register. This registration is necessary to tell the online service who we are and what we want to have from him, and to give the online service a chance, for example, to send us a bill, to know our address, and to know what we are interested in. So the service needs to know its users. Who is shopping? Where to deliver the goods? Whose exam results are this? So this registration leads to the establishment of a digital identity. Establishment of a digital identity, and you know such button, for example, when you want to register to open HPI, then you have to give your name, your email address. We asked you to tell us a little bit about you, about your professional experience and what you are interested. And this data help us to provide our service in the right way. And when you, for example, are doing homework or answering questions, that we exactly send the results of this homework or of this quiz questions to you. So a digital identity uniquely represents a person, but digital identities are not only necessary for humans, but also for objects which are connecting and using the internet and moving around in the digital world. This digital identity contains attributes that help and are necessary to distinguish the different users, to distinguish different persons, to distinguish different objects from each other, because the goods that are bought in an e-shop should delivered exactly to the right buyer. So how do such attributes look like? An example here is, for example, the name. The name, the address, the birthday, and such kind of data which help to characterize a certain person and which helps to distinguish between two persons. Which attributes are necessary when you register with a new domain? It depends, of course, from what the service is doing for you. Sometimes it's enough only to have a single attribute, for example, the name. But you know, there are different persons with the same name. So typically more than one attributes are needed. For people with the same primary attribute, a distinctive secondary or tertiary attribute is necessary. For example, an address or age or birthday or others. If we have established a digital identity in the course of a registration with a service, then one has to prove that a certain identity belongs to a certain person. So this is the authentication. But first, let me state that one person, one physical person, can have many different identities. For example, identities with another username or with another email. Different types of digital identities can serve for different purposes. For example, in some context, you want to be anonymous. So you want to use, for example, an online forum with a pseudonym. Or in one, you want to have in a private private identity. For example, your Facebook account with your hobbies, which you want only to share with your friends. Or then there are business identities when you are, for example, using LinkedIn and speak about your professional skills. So depending on the purpose, the identity contains different attributes. So one person can be characterized by different collections of such attributes. I already mentioned this. This identity is needed to recognize a person. But in the digital world, also machines are using online services. So digital identities do not only refer to people, but also to objects, computers, smart cards, IoT devices, Internet of Things devices. They all need a digital identity to be specified by the service so that the service can deliver something what is requested exactly to the right entity. For example, when there are the homework on OpenHPI, to which of the 5 devices should the file be sent? Or when a website is opened, here our OpenHPI website clearly describes which computer or server delivers the OpenHPI website. This is an identity of the web server of OpenHPI. And without a digital identity, the objects cannot be distinguished, and it's difficult, it is impossible to interact with the different devices. The question now is whether we have a person or whether we have an object. It's necessary to prove to the service that a digital identity he has stored in his customer database exactly is owned by me. And this process, this proof that I have a certain digital identity, this process is called authentication. Authentication, a person gives a proof that he or she owns a certain identity, for example, by entering a password, an email and a password, and so here in our case OpenHPI can recognize you and can assign all what it knows about you, all the number of homeworks you did, the number of points you received, and others. And then we have the authentication, and the authentication is that the online service checks the evidence. It compares the password which is entered by this owner of that email address with a password that is stored in its customer database which is connected to the email. And if both agree, then it's considered positively proved that really this identity belongs to that person. So anyone who successfully authenticates can then use the digital identity and can be work, can be shop, can be do some e-government activities, or in case of an OpenHPI, can make some homework or give some discussion, some statements in the discussion forum. Let's summarize what we know up to now. We have discussed that the digital identity uniquely represents a person or an object in the digital world. So the digital identities are characterized by attributes, by a collection of attributes. A person or an object can have multiple identities for different purposes. And the connection between a physical identity and the digital identity is established by verification. For example, by that the person knows something, knows a secret, a password or PIN or TAN, or in a physical way. We call it biometric way, by biometric characteristics, having a certain fingerprint or iris or face. Or this verification can be done by proving the ownership of a certain object, of a credit card or a smart card. So in this way, digital identities are a collection of attributes, and these are the identities we can use the services in the internet and when we can move through the digital world.